Okay, welcome. I am Firefox.
And I'm Salt. We are contactees and experiencers and your co-hosts.
Tonight we talk about Bigfoot and how they tried to crash our date.
We will show you also evidence of a Sasquatch handprint left on a car window of a super soldier near the same area we had our Bigfoot encounter. Are you ready to go?
Beyond the Meat Suit.
Where mystery and the unknown take flight.
Tonight, we're tackling the question, is Bigfoot real? Now, we know he's real, but we'll share our story where we had a standoff, where we were surrounded by them, and you can decide. Now, Salt can remember things in great detail, so although I was there, I'll let her take the spotlight.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you so much, Firefox. You know, I'd like to share the, before we dive into our story, I'd like to share the evidence of that Bigfoot or Sasquatch handprint right up front. Let's see if we can show that evidence to our tribe. They deserve to know now. They don't have to wait.
Handprints?
Yeah, the handprints. Yeah, remember? So I was in a parking lot, and the guy walks up to me. Can I show you something?
Oh,
and I was
what
like,
a pickup line that is.
I was like, okay. And he goes, it's over here. My car's over here.
Oh, sounds like Bundy.
Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy, the
Bundy.
serial killer. Oh, can you help me over in my car? So the guy, you know, I'm just starting to read his energy. He's about 6 to 8 feet away politely. He was actually outside of my energy field, so I already know he knows. So I walk over to his car, and I look, and he shows me handprints on the back. Now, there were multiple handprints, but one was very clear. And I was like, oh, my God, that's so awesome. And he's like...
Well, let's get that print on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
So they can see it, too.
So the print now, I'm putting it up on the screen. So the print's up there now, and I go, that's awesome. He goes, is it awesome? I go, well, to me it is. So when you look at this print up on the screen, you may notice it has dermal ridges, and it, you know, has claws. And if you looked at my hand, it's, you know, bigger on the sides, and it's longer. And if I hold my hands up, Firefox, hold one of your hands up. So if I hold my hand in Firefox's hand, for a girl, my hands are a very similar size to Firefox. Male, maybe I have man hands. They're a bit daintier, but whatever. So my hands, I didn't take a picture with the hands. The print was about that much bigger and about that much taller, plus the claw. Because there was a claw that extended past it. It had dermal ridges like a human or a primate. So that made me think Bigfoot. I can't be certain of Bigfoot, but looking at the photos, what do you think? Now, this man was part of a super soldier program. He talked about this, and he had big, broad shoulders. He was shorter than you, but about the same age. Big, broad shoulders. He was about 62. I think, what are you, 60?
I'm 62.
60.
You don't know my age.
I don't know my age.
You forgot my age.
42. Anyhow, but he's like, I'm a super soldier. I can bench well over 230. I don't work out. And then I continued on. I could help. And anyways, these people reach out to me all the time. So that was really neat.
Okay.
Let's talk about Tag real quick. So he was part of a super soldier program. I was part of a program called Tag, Talented and Gifted. By the way, if you're okay with me telling, he was part of a program.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to talk more about the programs we were part of later. We don't know what your program was called.
I don't remember.
But luckily, the programs we were part of, we don't self-terminate, and we've actually been able to come out of these programs. So this man couldn't. But either way, when people that are part of these programs, I guess they see us, as who I am, a leader, whatever.
We tend to be able to recognize.
We recognize them.
That were in the
so
same
if you're
program.
near me, usually if you're near me, I can tell whether you are part of a program like this. Maybe not the same exact program, because my program and his program were not exactly the same. It seems like these things are compartmentalized, and there's just different ideas of, let's try this.
Plus,
let's try this.
10 years.
Well, you're 10 years older than me too. And you were actually in the military, in the Air Force, where I was not. Well, not technically. Now, what's kind of neat is the guy showed me this. He had a few handprints. I tried to get the best one I could. So he showed me, and then he's like, do you want to take a picture of it? I was like, well, heck yeah, I want to take, because sometimes people don't want to share any of this. They want their own evidence. He goes, go ahead, take a picture. He's like, what you do, I want to give this information to you to show people. So I took a picture. Now I wish I had some like contact paper and some like, I don't know, Sherlock Holmes black dust I wish I did. I'm going to start to, I think, carry that around in the future. Cause yeah, one time I found a footprint. I wish I had something to cast it with. So either way, then the man proceeded to tell me I was in the super soldier program. And I said, sir, I can help you. He goes, no, you can't. I go, I can help you. I can. He goes, no, you can't.
This is the same guy that came up to you. Can I show you
Yeah.
something?
Yeah. So what happens is my brothers and my sisters who have been part of these programs, they see who I am and they identify with me immediately because we can identify each other. And they often walk up to me and start to tell me their story. And sometimes they ask for help. Sometimes they don't. But yeah, we have ways to help them. I can do hypnoregression. I have other practitioners that we work with. So if you need help with this, you can check out my website and reach out to me and I can get you some help. Of course, we have to charge for this. So in the future, I hope we can grow and put a portion of our proceeds aside to help people that are out there living in their cars, men and women. I've met you all, and I understand what you've been through. Trust me, I do, and so does Firefox. So I was part of TAG.
Well, funny thing is, I think I remember being part of a group like that. I don't know what it was called. I can't remember much.
Yeah, you don't remember much.
But I also about the same age as the other guy.
Yeah,
We're the same age.
Luckily, in the super soldier programs that you were part of, or this gentleman was part of, and I don't know why I didn't get his phone number. You know, your age group didn't get programmed to kill yourselves.
From what I know, we're actually the first generation of super soldiers. We could be the beginning of the second generation. There are now up to generation 5, and those super soldiers are programmed to self-terminate before they're 45.
Yeah, and a friend of ours did, and it's very sad. So if you are interested in the super soldier topic, we will eventually start to talk more about that.
About it.
There's actually a big event coming up in Orlando in October, put on by James Rink, author of Lone Wolf, which is basically banned from Amazon. And he was a super soldier, and he is, and he has a podcast. So I'll put a link below to that event. Oh, by the way, if there's a link below, not always, but often, we might receive an affiliate fee, but I don't put anything on there. That's just garbage. So if I'm wearing my t-shirts or his hat or my cool alien Bigfoot mug and you like that, or you want to go to the Super Soldier Con conference with James Rink and other really cool people. Anyways, I'll put links below for anything we talk about. To direct you, whether it's paid or not, it doesn't matter. I'll put the links down below.
Warning. The entire first section of this video about super soldiers was erased. After recording the full podcast, it was just gone. We had to re-record the section. So please do not forget to subscribe to Rumble and your favorite podcast channel. If we get banned elsewhere, we kid you not. This is real. Thanks from Beyond the Meatsuit. Truth, love, freedom.
Okay, so on to our Bigfoot encounter.
Awesome.
Salt, you remember more, so you begin.
All right. Oh, Leon, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment.
All right. So our Bigfoot encounter, it was Saturday night. We had just finished up a long 6-day work week, a lot of hard work. And we were heading out to the Sedona desert. We headed out around 11 p.m. because by the time, we got done with the work and got everything, we were exhausted. So we were going to go camp under the stars. Very romantic. It was his idea.
Yeah, I remember. I recall it was early fall of 2021. We had been dating a few months by then, and we had never gone that far down the rabbit hole as we did that night. This evening, the Bigfoot were not so friendly. Well, we headed out the desert, and all the good campsites were taken. It was almost midnight when we arrived at a remote area very close to the Bradshaw Ranch. I asked Salt, "Are you okay with camping here?" We're pretty close to the ranch. Well,
Yeah.
of course, she absolutely said yes. Well, you can't camp there anymore, so don't try. The Forest Service will give you a big fat ticket now. But we'll share the story on another podcast
Yeah,
when
why?
we talk more specifically about the Bradshaw Ranch. Not to be confused with the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah.
Yeah, because I get that question asked often, why can't I camp here anymore? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you want the real story or the fake story? So that's a good story when we do talk about the Bradshaw Ranch and the Bradshaws and all the crazy stuff.
Okay, once we got to the spot, we said, okay, this looks good. We can camp here. When I got out of the car, I said, ooh, why is the hair on the back of my neck standing up?
Oh, I said, they're here. I didn't say it like that. They're here, I said.
Who's here?
The Bigfoot?
Where?
All around us?
How many?
You can't see them?
No.
Oh,
You can see them?
well, tonight I can. Maybe like 40 or 50.
What are they doing?
Like they're flanking us. They're just kind of moving, like almost like you don't see their. So my breath stink. Sorry. So you don't see their footprints. Like they weren't walking like this. They were just like it was almost like a carousel, like going around us, and they were flanking us, like they were protecting something. They were protecting something. Like they didn't want us to go to a certain area, and it was kind of aggressive. But I was like, it's fine.
So you're okay with it?
Yeah. I've been out in the desert a lot, and just me with my dog out in very remote areas, like all alone, nobody around, and other than the mountain lion and all that. So I've never been harmed. Usually they would come up to me and they'd be around me, curious of what I was doing. The little ones could come closer to me, but not the adults. Or maybe the adults didn't want to. I don't know. I would also always set up a perimeter, and only benevolent beings could come in. So the big adults sometimes were maybe not as benevolent, and the little ones could come in closer.
Okay.
So I've never had a
We'll
never
set
had an
up
issue.
camp then.
All right. So Firefox, when you camp, you got those little camping headlights that go around your head, and he set it to a red color to set up camp, and then he was like, "Holy crap! They're like all around us."
Yeah, I saw it finally.
Yeah, and he saw it, and
Well, when I first got there, I felt them, and then of course we cleared that up when she told me what it was, and well, my headlamp had a high beam, low beam, and a red light. So what I did was I clicked on the red light, and that's when I could see them.
yeah, and basically he responded like, "Holy crap!" And he was in the Air Force, and he likes to carry a gun, and so immediately he kind of like went into that defense mode where he, not grabbed his gun, but kind of put his hand down there. And I said, that's not going to do anything, right? And he goes, yeah, I know they're etheric. It's just kind of a habit. And what's interesting is I've had smaller groups of Bigfoot around me, but this was really quite different. These were really like aggressive and trying to force us out of the area using fear. Like to the point where it's like, if you don't leave, you're going to die. It was very aggressive. And I'm like, yeah, we're not, we don't do that.
Yeah.
So they're quite aggressive.
We laugh in the face of danger.
I'm like, yeah.
Especially this kind of danger.
Yeah. And so, no, it wasn't his gun that made them aggressive. We are out here all the time. Often him or other people have guns. They have knives or whatever. And when you're carrying a weapon, just carrying a weapon, never an issue. But if you intend to harm others with that weapon or harm them in any way, that's another story. They can read your, they're highly, what's the word, telepathic.
They're very telepathic.
Or psionic or whatever you call that. So they could read.
Telepathy, psionic.
Yeah. And that's how I communicate with them. They could read your thoughts, your emotions, and your intentions. So when you're aggressive with the gun, that's the issue, or the knife, or just even your attitude.
Yeah.
So I asked him, do you want to leave?
No.
Nope, we're good. We're going to stay here and stand our ground. Yeah. So he suggested, let's put up a perimeter. So we did. And what did you do?
Well, I did my drumming. I put out a shield of fierce and fearless love. But as we were doing this, remember the bullet shell?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll talk about that. And then I also I didn't have a drum with me. I use my drum all the time now. Actually, what's funny is, long story short, the ones that we work with now actually enjoy the drums. But
yeah, we had that too.
That was funny. They actually enjoy the drums, but depending on who you're working with. So anyways.
These Bigfoot were different.
These Bigfoot were a little different.
They were different.
They were trained to be aggressive. We're going to talk about that. So I use sage, and also telepathically, I just set out my intentions. Like I blasted out love and light from within, fierce and fearless love from within. I pushed it out and I set up a perimeter. So we made this perimeter around our camping area. And yeah, the bullets. So one thing we noticed,
See, I did remember that. Well, these bullet shells all in a
Like-
specific little area. Almost as if someone who was there before was shooting at something.
like in all directions.
And didn't move from that one
like,
spot.
Like I'm out here camping and I'm drinking and oh my God, in a circle. That's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah.
So when we first saw the bullets, it was when we were first setting up.
Bullet shells.
Or bullet shells, sorry.
Yeah.
When we first saw the bullet shells, it's like, oh, that's weird. But now we understand if you're out there camping and all of a sudden you're surrounded, yeah, you might freak out, especially if you had a few beers in you, you know? So that was interesting. Yeah.
And when I was setting up the tent, I needed to know exactly where east was, so I could set up the tent and it won't be too hot when we get up. We were intending to wake up later in the morning.
Yeah, we were intending to wake up later.
We were intending to wake up later in the morning. So I got my compass out just to be sure. Salt, get your compass out.
All right. So I got my cell phone, my compass out,
No.
and I was looking at it, and the compass was just like, this is my phone, and it's going like kind of like Captain Jack Sparrow, like all over the place when Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean doesn't know what he's looking for. That's what my compass was doing. I was like, Firefox, this compass is just all over the place. So then he grabbed his analog compass. He's like, let me see that.
My floating needle compass.
Old school.
Yeah, old school.
And same thing.
Yep.
Now, since then, we've had other experiences where compasses just don't work. You know, they work all the time, but one day, they don't work.
Yep.
They might all point in the wrong direction. We've done that, cell phone next to each other.
Oh, yeah.
They're all in the wrong direction, 3 of them. But this one's also pointing a different way, also in the wrong direction. And then 5 minutes later, it's fine. So, by the way, if you're hiking in any areas like this with anomalous energies, remember, compasses, all trails, GPSs, they're not always accurate. So use the rocks to navigate so you don't die. So after the bullets and the compass, and they kept pushing in on us, or trying to. I said, do you want to leave? Are you okay with this?
Oh, I said no.
Yeah. You're like, let's learn, right? Let's stay as long as we can.
Yeah.
We didn't know if they were going to push us out, but we thought, let's stay. So then as they were flanking us, what we noticed, as I said, like they would just kind of float. And you could see their Bigfoot, right, shapes. So when you see a Bigfoot, they're not 3-dimensional apes. I don't know who's talking about that. They come in and out of dimension. It's not easy for them to come in here. It's not. It's not easy for them to show up as a big, hairy ape. So if they do that, usually it's by accident, or they want to show up for you, or some people actually theorize they're kind of sick, and they're kind of stuck that way. So when we saw them, they're pixelated energy, kind of like the movie Predator back in the day. Not scary like that, but Predator, when that creature moved, it was pixelated energy. Now, our military has such technology.
Yeah, cloaking technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that later, too.
Yeah. So what you see, or what I saw that night, and I think you saw the same, is different heights, in the shape of a Bigfoot. And you could even see their hair kind of wisping as they flanked us. And I felt only male energy because I could feel the energy and kind of what it is, empathically. We have different abilities. And I felt all male energy, different ages, nobody young, different ages, and anywhere from about 6.5 feet to about 8 feet tall. That's about how big these were. And there was no wind. There were no bugs. It was like the extreme, strange stillness of the evening, silence other than their clicking. So that's where we learn they click. When they're communicating, tick, 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 tick. And as they go around, they tick. Later, we learn more about their ticking and what else? Chirping. They chirp sometimes. Grunting.
Oh, yeah. We had a lot of experiences with that, especially when we're out there at the same place during our other tours.
Yeah, we don't go to this place, but we go to a place nearby when we're
nearby.
on tour where we're permitted to go. And, what's interesting is, like, I had a little kid one night get really scared. We were not trying to call in Bigfoot, but I guess
they showed up.
Salt can't help it. I was playing my drum. They liked my drum. The people were kind of okay with this was not a UFO type tour or a Bigfoot tour. These were like normal people. And the little girl, when I played my drum and I was blasting out love, well, the Bigfoot, they know me. And it showed up and she saw it. And she saw the image and she heard it speak, and so did her mom. And they freaked out She said, well, I wasn't that scared, but it sounded kind of like when, in Harry Potter, when they talk in that, I said, oh, parcel tongue? She's like, yeah, it sounded like parcel tongue. I was like, they sometimes sound like that. I said, that's just how they vocalize. And my little girl was strong, and she stayed. And then we left. But yeah, she was tough. She was a good little 9-year-old.
Yeah, sometimes you can hear an ape-like growl.
Ape-like
but
growl.
Not everybody hears it at once. Sometimes it's only one or maybe a few others in
Yeah.
the group. But we don't discount it because it keeps happening with different groups.
Yeah.
It's happened about, oh God, I've lost count already. I think it's like 7
Yeah.
times in a
They
year.
vocalize. Yeah, it's hard. Again, it takes some energy to vocalize or to leave a footprint. So they do that in a way as a gift. That's what they're doing. It's a gift. Or, I guess, to scare you.
The real Bigfoot tend to be more hilarious, funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, joking around.
The ones that we encountered that night were a different bunch.
Yeah.
Hybridized.
Yeah. They may or may not have been hybridized. We're going to talk about that. So how did we piss them off?
Well, I drank too much tea the entire day, and you were drinking coffee.
I like my coffee.
Before we went out that night, we were tired from a long work week, so we had to pee a lot that night. So we would walk away from the campsite to do number ones.
Yeah. So we would go out and pee and break that perimeter, right? And I don't know why, if we were tired, why we didn't put 2 and 2 together. Every time we'd go out to pee, they'd push in hard, really hard. Like, yeah, like, we're going to kill you. You're going to die. And we're like, what? So we would, set up another perimeter. And then we were setting up the tent. And we go out to pee again, and we crossed the perimeter, and they'd push in again. We set up another perimeter. Yeah, we didn't put it together at that time. But basically, finally, camp is set up. Yay. So we set up camp. Now, if you're ever camped and, you got your tent here and people could accidentally come in off the road and crush you, it's a good practice to put your car in front of the tent. So he goes to move the car very slowly, and boom, he hits something.
Yeah, this was very unexpected because when I drove in, I scanned the whole area and knew exactly where I could drive my car. So when I got in to move the car, I knew that it was okay to back up because there was nothing there. But when I did back up, I hit a rock that wasn't there before.
Good size.
Yeah. It's a good thing I wasn't moving that fast.
Yeah, it was about a 300-pound rock, a few feet by a few feet. I actually used to sell rock, so I know how big it is. And most humans can't move that silently. So I guess Bigfoot can silently move rocks. And I guess maybe they thought it was funny. I don't know. But it dented the car and scratched it just a little bit because he was going super slow. And how does that make you feel, Firefox?
Well, I didn't like the fact that they put the rock there.
Yeah, I mean, now if we're going to trade in our vehicle, oh, what's that? Well, Bigfoot, put a rock behind it.
Oh, yeah. Story we want to tell everybody, right?
Yeah. So one final, almost fatal, wasn't fatal.
No, it wasn't fatal.
One final pee break. And Firefox went out to pee. And I was still back at the tent or doing whatever. And he went further and further out because we kept extending our perimeter, thinking like, if the further we put it out, the less it'll come in. And he crossed that perimeter and he got hit, kind of in the head. So this was one of those energy weapon or psychic attacks. Now, based on the event and how it all went down and my experience with this type of stuff, because I've been hit by them before, I do believe it was a direct energy weapon attack by our, whoever's out there, underground military, secret installation. And while Firefox never had this happen to him,
Yeah.
I have. I know others who have.
It was my first.
And I know they can either be a psychic attack by a human or an entity, or they can be our military absolutely has this technology. Like one time I was in Sedona. I'll make this short. I walked into a store. There was a psychic medium. I didn't want to go in the store, but my dog at that time, Lulu, was like, I want to go in the store. And this lady was full of demons, and I could feel it, so I didn't want any part of her. And she would not look at me. She was engaged with my dog. And when she looked at me, she panicked and she freaked out and started going, we gotta go. And she ran away. I was like, yeah, I knew it. And as I turned around, boom, in the back of the head, she hit me. So immediately I got that nausea, that pain, and I blasted out love and I focused it on there, and it was gone within, a minute. But she hit me pretty hard. So I know humans can do it. And I'm sure anything can do it,
Yeah.
including our government. We have this technology. So anyhow, that's a real thing.
Yeah. Well, didn't guy Pink Jeep talk about this at the airport, Mesa?
Yeah.
Area?
So a colleague of mine, he's a tour guide at Pink Jeep. By the way, currently we work for SedonaJeepTours.com, totally different company. Not Pink at all, not sorry. Anyways, this guy at Pink is a fairly normal guy, and he was up at the airport one night just hanging out with a few friends, looking at the sky, and the airport's just kind of quiet. It's not a big airport. So up at the airport Mesa, he said all of a sudden he had this sharp, and people talk about it coming in like at an angle, a sharp, kick to the head or like a laser beam. And he said all of a sudden he dropped to his knees. And he said, I was hot. I was cold. I wanted to vomit. I couldn't vocalize. I couldn't reach out to, I was trying to call out to my friends, but I couldn't. My brain felt like it was boiling and I was going to die. I said, what'd you do? He said, well, I started praying. I started praying to God. I go, do you normally do that? He goes, no, I don't, but I did. He goes, I go, did it work? He goes, yeah. He goes, I don't ever want to go up there at night. And he knows where I go. He goes, you go out at night into the desert? I was like, yeah.
We do.
He's like, well, you ever have that? I said, I have had that, but I know how to not have that anymore. And you got the experience of having that.
Well, it was my first time, so I know how to deal with it better. But even for my first time,
He did all right.
I did really good.
So it was new to him. He broke out of it fairly quick, but he said he got nauseous, hot and cold. And he said, I don't really feel good. And I said, do you want to go? And he responded this time, maybe. I'm not sure. Because he got hit hard and I know what it's like. And he said, I feel like I'm going to die. Can you heal me? And I said, absolutely. Get in the tent. You're not going to die. I know exactly what you just went through. And what I did is I laid my man down in the tent and he was not doing well. And I blasted white light from within me, fierce and fearless love, like nothing can touch me. And I pushed it around me and around him and around the tent. And then I pushed it far and wide, up, down, into the ground, everywhere. So about 50 feet out. I guess I could have pushed it farther, but that was as far as I needed to do to keep these beings away from us. Because right now there's no perimeter. They can move in on us. So I pushed this light out and I started healing him. I don't consider myself a healer. I can. It's not really my thing. Anyways, so I did that for a bit. And, he felt a little better.
Yeah, I felt better.
So I said, do you want to leave? You feeling better? And he said,
Yeah, we might as well stay. Went
Yeah.
through a lot of trouble
Yeah,
just to
yeah.
park at this one.
okay. So I said, all right, why don't you sit there for a few minutes? I'm going to go out and talk to them and I'm going to negotiate terms. Are you okay with me going out there alone in the desert while you sitting here in the tent?
Well, I could still feel if things go south. So, yeah,
Okay.
if I feel I'm needed, I'll come out.
All right. So I went out. I set up a perimeter. I burned my sage. I puffed out my little chest. And by the way, it was a date. So I was wearing a skirt. I had no shoes on. I'm looking hippie cute. And I'm out there in the desert where my man's in the tent. I set up my perimeter. And I walk over to one area that they were really guarding. I said, I get it, my friends. And this is all telepathic. So it's not like this. But basically I said, I get it. You don't want us here. This is your territory. But guess what? We're committed and we're out here and we're going to stay. I'll tell you what, this area over here, I can see clearly. You're guarding something. I got it. That's your turf. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up another perimeter. I will not cross the perimeter to urinate, and I will definitely not come over here to this area because I knew they were guarding something. And I will not bring people here to this spot like a circus show to show them. Because in fact, the History Channel, the Beyond Skinwalker, they said, after I told them this story that I'm telling you, they said, show me, take me there. I said, absolutely not. I negotiated terms, absolutely not. And they said, well, you want to be on TV, don't you? I go, no, I don't care. If I'm on TV, I made a contract and I don't break my contract. I will not take you out there. And that's it. So anyhow.
But the story doesn't end there either.
So now I go back to the tent. It's 3 a.m. approximately. And I ask him, are you okay? Are you feeling better or do you want to leave?
Well, I do feel better.
So you're going to stay? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll stay.
Okay, great.
And then
The wind kicked up. The wind was like a hurricane. I lived in Florida, I lived on the Northeast in Connecticut and Florida before I moved out to Arizona. So if you've ever been even just in a small hurricane, category 1, it's pretty intense. I've also almost been taken out by a tornado that was about 10 feet from me. So I know the difference between a tornado and a hurricane, and they're both intense. This would have been more like a hurricane. So the winds kicked up, and we're in a little, 2-person tent, like a dome, and it's pinned down, and we weigh a decent amount. I'm 5'10", you're 5'9", we weigh a decent amount.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there, and I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna fly off the ground, and like Dorothy, we're gonna disappear. So we're sitting there, and we're looking up, and the tent up above us is now, it's going side to side, and it's almost hitting us in the face, and we're just staring there, and we're blasting out love. Because this is pretty intense. Yeah, no rain, no hail, just wind. So it seemed like forever, but about 20, 30 minutes, and then
we blacked out.
Gone. Now, I've told this story many times, and people go, you fell asleep? I go, oh, no, I didn't fall asleep. We blacked out. Something blacked us out, whatever. And then we woke up.
About an hour later. It was
about 4 a.m. About 4 a.m.
Yeah, it was very quiet.
And it was very still, very quiet. And I was like, oh my God, I think they're gone. It feels like it. And he said, because I don't.
Sure?
Are you sure? Because I don't blame him. When you go through what he went through, if you've never been through it, it's kind of scary. It really is. So I said, yeah. And I unzipped the tent. I go outside. I go, yeah, come on out. So it was still. It was peaceful. It felt good. You could feel the light breeze and hear it. There were some bugs and one bird, like the early bird, right? One bird off in the distance.
After the bugs.
And then he agreed, yeah.
No, they're gone.
Yeah. So we peed again.
Yeah. Inside the perimeter.
Inside the perimeter. As I negotiated inside the perimeter. And then we went back to our tent.
Oh. Well, we finally had our date. Postponed by the Bigfoot encounter. And then we finally went to sleep about 2 hours later. It was 5 a.m. Not exactly the romantic date I had planned, but it is Sedona after all. And we woke up still at 7.
Not very peaceful, restful evening.
Yeah. I unzipped the tent, went outside, and there were a few things in front of the door to the tent. I guess they left gifts.
Yeah.
Oh. I told Salt, check this out. They left us gifts.
I was like, what? So
it looks like a blue ribbon and a cool rock.
Oh yeah, and the rock. I probably have it somewhere. Oh God, it's probably in the storage unit. So if I have it, I'll show it to you, but I think it's in the storage unit. It's a small rock. It's very smooth on both sides, and it's got a hole in it, like all the way through. It looks like somebody made it, but it could have been a natural stone. Just kind of a cool stone as you're walking. Oh, a cool stone, put it in my pocket. And the blue ribbon, well, how did that? It was windy, like a hurricane.
Yeah, and it was just laying there.
Yeah, about 8 feet outside the tent, one on side and one on the other side.
Well, I told Salt, should we leave gifts? Well, she said yes and explained she had heard that they like shiny things. I rummaged around and found some crystals in my car. We thanked them and left. What a crazy, exhausting evening. But what did we learn? Well, why did we stay? 2 against 50.
And now we try to teach people when we're on tour how to protect themselves. Now, we protect you when we're on tour, which is not usually an issue, unless you bring in the darkness, which some of our people do, not on purpose. And then we get rid of it. But we feel everybody can do what we did. And that's why we were there, I think. So we use love against fear all night. I was like, we can do this. And he was like, yeah, we can do this. Let's face them with love and try to hold our ground. We use the white light. Some people call it the Christ consciousness. Not everybody believes 100% in God or Christ, and that's fine. Love is another way to do it. Whatever your religious beliefs are.
It's universal.
Yeah. Whatever your religious beliefs are, if you are 100% solid, it'll work. But if you are not 100% solid, just use love. So we held our ground, we made peace, and we even made friends.
Well, these friends are now on our side, and we get them to show up often when we're on tour. If our customers are in the right vibration and intention, they show up.
Yeah, if our customers are in the right vibration or intention. So later upon meditating a day or two, I got a download, and yeah, So what I got, my information that I got is these were bound by a faction of our government, slaves to guard the area, like a pit bull with a bad owner. You know, a pit bull can be a great dog or it could be an awful dog. Any dog really can be a chihuahua, it doesn't matter. So with a bad owner, a dog can be bad. He can be taught bad behaviors. So they can be taught to be aggressive or super sweet. In this case, these beings, these Bigfoot or Sasquatch, they were encouraged to be aggressive because they were commanded to be that way. And with their right attention and a lot of love, they became our friends. So in our opinion, they were only aggressive as pre-directed, as they were commanded to be.
Yeah, but since then, we've noticed that they do not like everyone. And we have a friend named Dr. Jürgen Hess, a.k.a. Hoodoo Tall. Well, where a Bigfoot showed up on his date, and he'll be on our podcast very soon, sharing his amazing knowledge.
Yeah, and they love Hoodoo Tall, and they love us.
They love Hoodoo Tall. They love
and
us
they love
too.
Jane, and they love William,
Jane,
and they love Diana Palm, and they love Nate, and they love Chris.
Yeah.
These are our tribe mates. So I guess in closing, what do you all think? Some people believe these were Bigfoot, and I do. But a friend of ours who's a well-seasoned Bigfoot contactee suggested something else. There's a newer hybridized, kind of like a hybrid of a Bigfoot, where our military is taking Bigfoot, who could jump through portals, and combining them with reptilians who cannot jump through portals. So that's a very dangerous mix. He says that we were very lucky that we used our shield of love and we didn't die that evening. And he believes the good Bigfoot came and basically tried to save us. In fact, he said the Bigfoot, the ones that we're usually around with, will call these other hybridized Bigfoot reptilians monsters, and they'll actually try to kill them. Now, that's not how I felt about it, but it's an interesting take on it. It's an interesting theory. I intuited that they were, again, used as slaves just to protect this portal area. There seemed to be a portal there. And I did get confirmation later with the download that definitely said that. So which may, in turn, have been a good thing, maybe for our own safety, protecting us from the government, or maybe the portal could be dangerous. Maybe they protected us. They didn't throw rocks. They didn't harm us. They just tried to make us leave. Was it intense? Hell yeah, it was intense. It was really intense. Probably the most intense thing I've ever been through at this point.
What made us stronger.
Yeah. So it doesn't kill you, of course, makes you stronger. But we want to know, what do you think of this story? Do you think it's true? Do you think we're making this up? I know a lot of people think, oh, you're just making this up. I'm like, it's a lot to make up. And my question even more so, because I have people that are like, you stayed out there? I said, of course.
Oh.
Would you have stayed? Would you have gone out, especially as, a single woman while your man's in the tent to negotiate with them? Would you have even then gone back to the tent and go to sleep? Because people are like, you went to sleep? I was like, yeah, why not? So people think I'm insane or we're insane. Or basically, would you have left, and how soon would you have left? As soon as you pulled in and felt the hair on the back of your neck? As soon as you saw him flanking you? When would you have left? So I'd love to hear that below. I know we have a lot of light warriors out there. And with that being said...
Yeah, well, if you have a story of your own, especially similar encounters where they were perhaps protecting something or pissed off at you, because all of our other encounters were truly positive.
Yeah. So let us know, reach out to us. And we also remember, guys, we need your help to grow. So when you engage with us, it helps the algorithm, blah, blah, blah. So please, if we're wearing shirts or hats and you like it, don't buy it if you don't like it. You like our cups or whatever. Please go ahead, support. So most of the links down below, yeah, they'll support us. But otherwise, if you share, sharing is caring, right? For the love of God, please share. So subscribe and share. It's a huge help. We are so grateful when you guys do that. And you can find our tribe on YouTube.
For now.
And Rumble and all the major podcasts. If you don't know Rumble, you should know Rumble. If you like this stuff, you want to get over to Rumble, where freedom of speech is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
The major podcasts were on there, and all the social media channels that matter. Not all of them, but most of them. So next podcast, we will share our alien abduction stories.
And thank you for going
Beyond
the meat suit.
Truth.
Love and freedom.
Beyond the meat Meatsuit.